Ready for some investigating? Getting my goggles and my gloves ready. So my safety gear is on. I am ready to do a little investigating with my samples of mystery powders. And here they are. You can see them. We have sample 1, sample 2, sample 3 in the middle, sample 4, and sample 5. Make sure you can see them clearly. Yes, so sample 1, kind of trying to poke around a little so you can see what it looks like. It's kind of fluffy. Every powder is white, but this one's kind of a fluffy white powder. And this one over here seems a little more chunky, but still white, still kind of fluffy, just a little more chunky texture. The one in the center is very grainy and white, kind of sparkly a little bit. This sample down here, sample 4, is also on the chunky side, kind of reminds me of sample 2. They are different substances, but this one is also chunkier, fluffy, chunky kind of texture. And my last one, before I clean my gloves off, is also very grainy, not very shiny actually in texture, but very teeny tiny little grainy white substance. Okay, for this test, I'm going to be adding water to our mystery substances. And this is sample 1. I have some in the glass, nice dry glass. I'm going to add some water. We're going to see what happens. And then we'll probably also try stirring to see if that helps with anything. Let's check out what works with number 1. Add some water. You can see right away that this water got very cloudy. Very cloudy. So I'm going to try stirring. Stirring always helps things to dissolve if they're going to dissolve. And in this case, I do see the water getting very cloudy. You can see the spoon. There is not really any powder left on the bottom to stir in. So it looks like just a very cloudy sample. Cloudy. Again, this is number 1. It's getting a little clearer as we wait. We'll give it a little more time. Oh my gosh, it's almost totally clear already. Look, you can see right through it. Oh, I hope you can see right through it. I can see right through it. It was super cloudy, but now it's clear, and there is no powder left to stir in. That was sample 1. Sample 2, mixing with water. This is our sample 2. I'm going to be adding water to it. Right now you can see it in the bottom of the glass. It's one of the fluffy ones. Let's see what happens when we add water. Let me move that over so it's a better thing. Notice right away that we have a very cloudy mixture. Cloudy, very white. Looks like milk. I'll try stirring it in a second and see what happens. I can't even see the powder in the bottom because it's so milky white. You can't even see through it all. But I can feel when I'm stirring with my spoon that there is some clumpy stuff down at the bottom. Very clumpy. Okay, here we go. Now, not so clumpy. Must be starting to dissolve. And sample 2 looks like milk. I don't feel any more clumps on the bottom. It feels like with the spoon when I'm feeling the bottom, I don't feel any more clumps. Let's see if it clears up or if it just stays cloudy. Sample 2. I'm glad nothing has exploded yet. This one is looking like it's not clearing up. It's staying very cloudy, looks like milk. On the side, but very cloudy, white. Number 2. For sample 3, water test. See what happens if we add water to sample 3. Here's our sample 3. I don't know what it looks like, kind of grainy. Number 3. Add my water. Kind of clear right now. You can see some of the particles on the bottom are staying on the bottom while the water seems pretty clear. You can see through the water pretty easily. Keep stirring. Remember, this is not an experiment because I'm only trying it one time. This is an investigation because we're seeing what happens when these materials interact with each other. And it looks to me like this is a pretty clear solution. There are no more particles in the bottom to stir up. They appear to have totally dissolved into the liquid water. And this is again sample number 3. Okay, now it's time for sample number 4. You can see it in the glass. It's one of the fluffy ones. Let's watch what happens when we add some water. Huh. All of the particles are kind of floating on the top. Interesting. This didn't happen with any of the other ones. Let's see. Give it a little stir. They're still trying to float on the top. I'm not sure if you can see that. Let me tip the camera. See what I'm talking about. See how those particles are floating on the top? I'm gonna try to stir them in a little bit more. Definitely turning a milky white color. And smush those little blobs that are floating on the top. You think stirring faster dissolves it more than stirring slowly? Well, I'd say it's bigger than milky white. Still have a few little particles floating on the top. Let's give it a minute, see if it settles out, and maybe it'll go clear again like some of the others did. Pretty opaque. See how you can't see through it? Can't see that pink post-it through for number 4. Okay, here comes sample number 5 with the water test. Sample number 5. 5 singles. Okay, so I poured it into the glass. It's one of the grainy, tiny particle substances. Let's find out what happens when we add the water. So far, it still looks pretty clear. You can see through it. A little cloudy. And we'll give it a look. Wow, there's like nothing to start. There's a little to start. It wasn't like the clumpy one. This one is very quick dissolving. There aren't hardly any clumps to stir around. I can still see the spoon in the glass, so I know it's not as cloudy as some of the others, although it's a little cloudy. Let's watch it, see what happens. There's no more to stir. And I think you can see it's starting to get a little clearer. You can see through, not completely transparent, but definitely clear. More clear. And there are no particles left to stir in. It's completely dissolved. Let's see. This is number 5. This is some iodine. This is an iodine tincture. We're going to see what happens when I put iodine on each of the substances. We'll observe what happens. We'll start with sample 1. And I don't have an eyedropper, so what I might need to do, yeah, it looks like I probably will need to use a little spoon. Iodine. If you notice, the iodine is kind of a orangey, kind of reddish orangey color. I'm going to put it on sample 1. Get a whole, whoa, a little bit more. Let's see what happens here. Sample 1. It's really getting brown. It's slowly seeping in to this powder, and it looks pretty brown. It's kind of a reddish brown. Okay, let's try sample 2. Oh, I dripped a little bit. Good thing it's an investigation and not an experiment. What's happening here? It's kind of bubbling up on top. It's not really sinking in, and it looks kind of black. Let me tip my camera so you can see that better. It's really not the same as sample 1 in any way, shape, or form. It's kind of clumped it into little pockets of liquid. It's starting to soak in now, and it's a blackish color. Maybe a deep, dark color. So not the same color we saw with sample 1, for sure. All right, let's see what happens with sample 3. Keep the sample together here. Again, this is an investigation because I'm not doing repeated trials. I'm just testing it one time to see what happens. This sample looks a lot, well, I wouldn't say it looks exactly like it. This one still turned brown, but it looks kind of like maple syrup brown. The one over here has turned kind of an orangey brown. This one looks like a dark brown. It is soaking into the substance, where this one still looks like little pools and puddles, which is very strange and interesting. Okay, let's try sample 4. This one is doing a very similar like little pooling, kind of like sample 2 did, where the drops didn't really spread out. Notice how sample 1 is all spread out. Almost the entire sample got soaked. But a lot like sample 2, sample 4 has little pockets, and it looks very similar, kind of a dark color. Dark purplish black. Right, we have one more sample. Oh, let them keep soaking, see if anything else happens with the colors. Sample 5. Whoa, sample 5 spread very quickly. It reminds me of pizza. It spread like the sauce on a pizza. It looks like a little mini pizza. The color spread, the liquid spread, the iodine, but it's very brown, brown in color. It definitely spread throughout the little crystals. And you can see all 5 are really incredibly different. These 2 are the most alike, I'd have to say, from my observations. You're going to be observing what you see in your record sheet. Time for another trial in my investigation with these mystery substances. Let me show you my new sample. This time we have all 5 of our mystery substances. That one sheet, I took 1 spoonful of each. And I'm going to add vinegar this time. Vinegar. Everybody has vinegar at home usually. It's very easy to find some. It doesn't smell very good. But let's see what happens when we add vinegar to each of these mystery substances. You can see again we have sample 1, sample 2, sample 3, sample 4, sample 5. Fresh and unharmed. So let's see what happens. Oh God, vinegar is so stinky. All right, here we go. Add a little vinegar. Whoa! I hope you could see that in action. We got a lot of bubbles going on here. A lot of bubbles. And now the fizz is calming down, but it did spread very quickly and puff up quickly too. That was kind of cool. I wonder what's going to happen with sample 2. Sample 2 doesn't seem to be doing a lot. I added the vinegar. It's sort of sitting on top. Notice what's happening. Let's see what happens with sample 3. Sample 3 got soaked very quickly. Even though it was the same amount of vinegar. I'm not seeing any fizzing or bubbling, just everything getting wet. Very wet. Here comes sample 4. It kind of ran off the side and went to the edge. Let me see if I can tip it up. Get it more on the sample. Not doing much. Didn't really want to soak in. Let's check sample 5. Wow, look at this. Like it totally went clear on sample 3. Sample 5, also, I didn't see any fizzing or anything, but everything is very much getting diluted or soaked into the liquid. Whereas some of these other samples didn't quite dissolve the same way. Okay, that was our vinegar test. Okay, time for the final test. We're going to be adding heat this time. I have taken a cookie sheet, covered it in foil. And you can see we have all 5 samples on one cookie sheet. Each of them is in their own separate little tinfoil boat so that we can see what happens to them and they won't mix together in any way while they're in the oven. So, now let's get them in the oven. I can see it. Okay. We'll give it a little time, maybe about 5-10 minutes, and see what happens. Okay, it's time to take them out of the oven. What we got? Whoa. Yikes, we're getting some burning happening. Here, give me that camera. Let me see if it's so you can see. Take a look at all those reactions from going in the stove. What, can you do any wafting on this one right here? See what that one smells like. It smells sweet, like marshmallow. Okay. And this one? It kind of just smells like burned. Burned? It's smelling burned. It looks like we might have left it in a little too long. That one like is number 2. Oh, yeah. It smells kind of like corn a little bit. Like that, like popcorn, burned popcorn. Yeah, burned popcorn. Okay. This one over here is number 3. The little words are getting covered. I can't really smell anything. Okay. What about number 4? That one got a little burned too. I think it smells like bread. Burned bread. Burned bread. And number, yeah, it smells like pizza crust. Like pizza crust. Okay, and number 5. Nothing. It just smells like. It doesn't really look like number 5 did much, and it doesn't look like number 3 did much. Let me like move through. Well, let's see. It's kind of hard to hold the camera. Maybe you can help me hold it steady. Okay. See if anything happened. Here? No. Not really. Won't do anything happening here. Okay. Those 2 just kind of stayed plain. The other ones had some major chemical reactions.